Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So I am continuing with this series of Science and the Holy Quran, and today is part 12, chapter 50, Surah Kaf, verses 3 and 4. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Aiza mitna wa kunna turabam zalika raj'um ba'id. Qad alimna ma tankusul ardu minhum wa indana kitabum hafiz. Translation. They say that how is it possible that they can be brought to life after they die and their bodies become a part of soil? This is beyond comprehension. Allah has written record of how their bodies gradually disintegrated. Comments. In these verses, Allah says that He has complete knowledge of the disintegrated body parts, so it is not difficult for Him to recollect them to make a structure and put life in it. At the time of the revelation of the Holy Quran, nobody could understand how dead bodies could be brought to life. In fact, Kuffar laughed it off. They said that when even our bones will become dust, the worm become dust, how everything can be recollected and life can be put in it. It is unimaginable. But in modern times, now we know about DNA and RNA, which were discovered in 1941, these are the basic genetic materials which control all the structural and functional development and maintenance of the body. I mean, they are the blueprints. From them, uh, proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, all the functional matters of the body, materials of the body are made, functional and structural materials. Or in another way, you can say that they are like negatives of a film from which different prints, many prints can be made. So the DNA can survive for thousands of years, even under severe environmental conditions, as it can remain intact up to 95 degrees centigrade. On our Earth, we can never achieve that temperature. If it happens, we will all die before that. So we can say that DNA can survive in our conditions of our Earth for thousands of years. So these are the structures of RNA and DNA. I will move on because these are not the part of this discussion. So theoretically, it is possible to reconstruct a whole living creature from this blueprint of DNA. But there are many other requirements which have to be fulfilled. So humans have not yet been successful to create a living body from ancient DNA, but they have successfully extracted it, that is, purified it and cloned it, put it in another DNA and sequenced and known its details of sequence. You know that there are four basic bases which form a DNA. There are different, their arrangement makes them different from a DNA, different from other. So knowing the sequence is very important. So scientists have made a significant progress in sequencing this ancient DNA and now are even able to synthesize specific genes from it for research purposes. And another interesting thing I read yesterday, that in Russia, there's permafrost, a material which remains remains frozen for unlimited time. We don't know from what time it has remained frozen. So the scientists, they extracted some samples from that permafrost, and when they kept them at room temperature, two of the eggs germinated and living worms came out of them. So you can say they were a million, perhaps millions of years old. And still, those eggs they were viable, they were living, and they produced living worms. So if humans can synthesize this DNA in the labs, why Almighty Allah cannot? So it is very easy to understand these verses now that Allah have details of all the details of everybody, and He can give them life again. Next is chapter 51, Surah Ad-Dhariyat. Verses 1 to 4. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَالزَّارِيَاتِ ذَرْوًا فَالْحَامِلَاتِ وِقْرًا فَالْجَارِيَاتِ يُسْرًا فَالْمُقَسِّمَاتِ أَمْرًا. Translation. Allah swears on the strong winds which give rise to clouds filled with water, which are blown over great areas, and those which move leisurely in water, and those, it is angels who distribute them. Means, I will discuss this part of this verse, these verses. Allah swears on the strong winds which give rise to clouds filled with water, which are blown over great areas. Now we now know by our modern science that clouds are formed when water vapors in the air condense into liquid water droplets or ice crystals. So these are special clouds which contain rain or snow, and they are very big, huge clouds, and they are either nimbostratus or cumulonimbus, sorry, cumulonimbus clouds. So here you can see them. So as these verses indicate, the strong winds play a significant role in the formation of these water-filled clouds. So we know it that it is true. And what happens that they influence the movement and condensation of water vapors. They control how those water vapors will spread and how they will condense into liquid form. So when a wind is blowing and there is a mountain or some air front in front of it, so it can it can be forced to rise. It has to rise to pass away from that obstruction. So this upward movement of air will cause this wind to cool. And if the air is moist enough, that is, if there is enough moisture in that wind, condensation will occur. It will get into liquid form, and therefore clouds will form. So here we know our modern science clearly says that this is that wind which has those water vapors, which when it rises to a certain level, it becomes, due to the cool temperature, they rain or ice is formed. In this wind, the clouds are formed which have rain or ice in this wind. And then these strong winds, at very high altitude especially, they can then blow those formed clouds to very vast distances, influencing water patterns and precipitation. Now, the forecast which we hear every day about the weather, that there is a current is coming from the west and it will reach our area on 2 to 3 days. So it is at least 2 to 3,000 kilometers away, which the satellite informs that it is moving into this direction. So it can the winds can blow these clouds to across such long distances. And during that period when winds are pushing those clouds, this is wind speed of the wind and its direction at different altitudes. It trims the clouds. I mean, it gives those clouds a specific shape. And that is why you see that if you compare two clouds, you will rarely see any two clouds of the same shape. This is because the wind which has pushed them here up to this point, that has cut their edges or given them what you say, or trimmed their head, you can say, or things like that. So, in a sense, I mean, we can say that wind is a crucial factor in the atmospheric circulation and it drives the water cycle. And as a result, the cloud formation is due to this wind. So now we know it. We completely understand the water cycle. And it was not about more than about 1.5 centuries ago when people started to understand this water cycle. Before that, nobody has any idea of this water cycle, that how these clouds are formed and what is the role of the wind. They simply thought that the wind is there to move these clouds around. Nobody ever thought, and they have no knowledge up to 1.5 century ago, that wind forms these clouds. But the Holy Quran mentioned this phenomenon 400 years ago. So is it amazing? And of course, only Allah can reveal this. So this topic has also been discussed in detail in Surah Nur, chapter 24, verses 43 and 44, in which the water cycle has been described. And you can, my vlog of maybe 4, 5, or 6 in there that you can find details about it. Then verse 47, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. والسماء بنيناها والسماء بنيناها بأيد وإنا لموسعون. Translation: The heaven, we have built it with power. We are expanding it. So this, we are expanding it. It is important. We will concentrate on that because the formation of this universe that has already been discussed in detail in Surah Anbiya, and the Big Bang has been described, which was when this universe was formed. So now I will move on, because in this or in this verse, it says that it is expanding, not just form. It is not stationary, it is expanding. So let us see what the modern science has to say about it. Something which Quran said 400 years ago. So only after the establishment of Big Bang theory, that was about 50 years ago, the modern science has got some idea about the universe, and now we know that it is expanding. Now, this is a figure generated by NASA, and here they have shown with different time periods from the Big Bang. That yellow light on the left is the Big Bang. And then slowly you can see the size of the universe is increasing, increasing, increasing. And the blue one on the right, you can see it is almost 2 to 3 times, or even more, 4 times of the original universe when it was formed by Big Bang. So now it is clearly established that the universe is expanding, and Quran mentioned it 1400 years ago. This is important. So, according to Dr. Maurice Boyle, the, he was a royal doctor, a French doctor, and he converted to Islam, and he wrote a book, the Bible, the Quran, and Science. And it is a quote from that book that he says that heaven is the translation of the word Sama, and it is exactly the extraterrestrial word that is meant. That is the word outside of our earth. So the word, we are expanding it. I mean, the word used for this is musiuna, and it is the translation of the plural present. And it means we are expanding it. And the verb os, oswa is used, which means making it wider, more spacious, to extend and to expand. So this is the description given by Dr. Maurice Boyle. So it here explicitly described that very clearly. This Holy Quran uh, said it and wrote it that the universe was expanding, and it was 1400 years ago. Now the Big Bang Theory, I have discussed it in detail in my vlog number 5, I think so. That is Surah Anbiya verses 30 to 32. So to understand it more clearly, you have to visit that vlog. Then you will understand fully. Then verse 49, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَمِن كُلِّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقْنَا زَوْجَيْنِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. Translation: in every creature he created pairs, and you should think about it. So this topic I will not repeat it here because it has been discussed in greater detail in these chapters, chapter 13, Surah Ar-Ra'd, chapter 20, Surah Taha, and chapter 36, Surah Yasin. Now next is chapter 53, Surah An-Najm. Verses 45 and 46. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَأَنَّهُ خَلَقَ الزَّوْجَيْنِ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنثَى مِن نُطْفَةٍ إِذَا تُمْنَىٰ. Translation: Allah created a pair, the male and the female, from a small quantity of liquid when it is poured out. Now again, I will refer to Dr. Maurice Boyle and his book, and on page 191 he writes that the pair which is used in these verses is the same expression the Holy Quran has used for reproduction in the plant kingdom. So these verses, which we are talking about, they are related to animal reproduction, particularly the humans, and here the sexes are given. And the date which is given is absolutely remarkable because it is very precise and it is clearly stated that a very small quantity of liquid is required for reproduction. I mean, not a whole lot, but only very small quantity. And the important thing, according to Dr. Maurice Buchel, is that the word nutfa is used, which in itself signifies sperm. You see, you know that sperm is microscopic and invisible. Before the invention of microscope, nobody has any concept of a sperm. So nobody knew that a very small quantity can cause reproduction. But here the Quran has clearly mentioned this, that even a very small quantity of the liquid that is which is rejected by the male can make the female pregnant. Not the whole lot, many cc's, many ml, which is rejected. So that was all for today. So there are some other series which I'm running. One is famous persons, the other side, and I mean, not every person is perfect, or some persons which are villains in our eyes have had some very good qualities, and vice versa. Then the scientists of the golden age of Islam, this is very important. And I have already covered the Arabian scientists, and now I am presenting the Persian scientists. And next will be Turkish scientists. And then there are miscellaneous topics. In, and I have already completed a Japan series because I stayed in Japan for 5 years. So this was based on my observations over there. So if you are interested in any of these vlogs, you can go to my webpage and choose the vlog of your interest. So my request is please subscribe and share. And these are my email addresses. Email address, URL, webpage, WhatsApp. So thank you very much for your time. Allah Hafiz till the next vlog.